Good morning. I'm Ken Secor, the Director for the Albany County Veteran Services Bureau. Welcome to our monthly Honor of Veterans ceremony. For the month of September, we have the pleasure of honoring Henry Rosenzweig Sr., who served in the U.S. Army. Before we start the program, I'd like to thank the Zaloga Post for allowing us to hold the ceremony here today. Thank you very much. We will start the program this morning by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The invocation will be provided by Gold Star Mother Reverend Charlene Robbins.
May we have a moment of silence as we celebrate the life of our honoree, Private First Class Henry J. Rosenzweig, Sr. In this moment of silence, we are filled with God's love and hope, just as Henry's life filled those around him with dedication and inspiration. Having served God and country as an Army veteran in Vietnam, Henry continued unhesitatingly to answer the call of service after his tour of duty. With his wit, smile, and desire to inspire others to be their best, Henry used his skills to nurture and encourage everyone he met in his roles of multiple service in the community. May we too, like Henry, call upon God's love and mercy to guide our lives and fill us with comfort. May we too be a source of inspiration to one another. May we too become beacons of God's light and allow the shadows of fear and doubt to be replaced with hope, reassurance, and peace. God bless our veterans. God bless America. Amen. Amen.
Please be seated. Presiding over today's ceremony is Albany County Executive Daniel P. McCoy. Also in attendance with us today, we have Congressman Tonko, former Congressman Mike McNulty, New York State Senator Neil Breslin, former Albany County Executive Michael Breslin, former Albany County Executive Michael Hoblock, Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan, former Albany Mayor Jerry Jennings, Albany County Comptroller Sue Rizzo, past Colony Town Board members Paul Rosano and Linda Murphy, the New York National Guard, the Adjutant General, Major General Ray Shields, Waterville Elite Arsenal Commander Colonel Alan Fisher, New York Army National Guard Public Affairs Colonel Richard Goldenberg, New York State Assembly Member Pat Fahey, Gold Star Mother Carrie Farley, Gold Star Mother Wanda Whitney, Father Joe from Our Lady of Angels, Albany County Commissioner Lisa Raimondo, veteran organizations represented today include the American Gold Star Mothers, the American Legion, the Association of the United States Army, Disabled American Veterans, Jewish War Vets, the Marine Corps League, the New York Army National Guard, the New York Naval Militia, Purple Heart Veterans, Tri-County Council Vietnam Veterans, the Veterans of Foreign War, and the Waterville Elite Arsenal. The Honor of Veteran program was started in 1993 by former Congressman McNulty and former County Executive Michael Hoblock. This program continues today with the cooperation and support of County Executive McCoy and Congressman Tonko, who also furnishes a flag that has been flown over our nation's capital for our honored veterans. When the Honor a Veteran program was started, a committee was formed to select our Veterans of the Month. This committee is made up of distinguished veterans from within the community. Their task is not an easy one, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank them. The committee includes John Nardolillo, Joe Policino, Jerry Perry, and Mark Rosenzweig. And up until 2019, it had also included Henry Rosenzweig. Now, to make a few remarks and present a proclamation to the family, in honor of Henry Rosenzweig Sr., I have the pleasure to introduce a fellow veteran who is currently still serving in the New York Army National Guard, the Albany County Executive, Daniel P. McCoy.
Thank you. It's just interesting to where you start with Henry. And so many things are going through my mind and, in his record of accomplishments. But I always say that, when you're born and you look at that hash mark between 1948 and 2019, the extraordinary things people do. You can cause mayhem, you can do extraordinary things, you can leave a legacy. And just look around us, the family to the left, to the right, behind you, in front of you, says a lot about the Rosenzweig family. And, I gotta smile because I think of the brothers all the time, them playing cards together. Them trying to get me to play cards with them in the garage at John's house. I laughed. I go, I'm not playing with you professionals. I might as well just give you my money and walk away. But to look at his extraordinary record, but to talk a little bit about his life. And before I get into it, Joel shared a story which I was aware of, but it's kind of funny and it sums him up in a way. When he had a heart attack, the ambulance comes, and the way he is, he goes outside and stops traffic, directs the ambulance in, and they go, where's the patient? He goes, I am the patient. And, gets in the ambulance, he's having a heart attack, tell him what to do. They go to the hospital, and he's back in the ambulance up at the hospital. That's Henry. That's the whole Rosenzweig family. That's the military men and women that serve our country day in and day out. And I always like to remind people that really a little over 2.3 million people, men and women, serve this country every day. That's less than 1% of our population. If you think about it, 331 million Americans, and less than 1% give us the freedoms that we enjoy every day. To believe in who we want to believe in, to worship whoever we want, to agree to disagree with our neighbors and still get along, to protest. Gives you the right because of the men and women that put that uniform on. And I've always said this about every war when these men and women come home. They have the right to live just a quiet life, to fall back into the fabric of society and not worry about everything that's going on. And yet they give back every time. They give back. They get involved with many organizations. I couldn't believe he belonged to that many things. And you're a saint for putting up with him for over 40 years of marriage. That's all I'm going to tell you. Is that the secret? Can you call my wife? So if that's a secret, I'll tell her that. So it's, you look at it, and that's what I find extraordinary from the Vietnam Memorial, watching everyone involved with that and getting involved. And you see these men and women not belly aching, just rolling up their sleeves and saying, we'll get it done. You can argue politicians, you can argue people. We're just going to get it done. And that's what they do. That's what they do. And to the Gold Star mothers that are here, my heart always goes out to you. You belong to an organization you don't, but you wear the badge and you keep their memories going. And that's what it's about. A lot of times we forget about why we're here and the men and women that gave up their lives for us to be here. But to talk about Henry, from 1966 to 1969, to spend 3 years to get injured in Vietnam, and he actually was with the Korean Fearsome Tiger Division. So when he got wounded, he spent time in the Japanese hospital, and then he recovered. And typical Henry, who's recovering, thinks, he's waiting for his next orders. 2 tours in Vietnam, he's recovering from battle wounds, and he's waiting for his next orders to go back downrange again. And he finds out he's discharged, and he comes home. But the extraordinary thing is he comes home and he joins the Plumbers Union, and he gets involved with that for over 35 years. And, it's just amazing. In 2007, Memorial Day Parade, New York State Veterans Hall of Fame. But one of the things I did laugh last night, I was going through my notes again, and I'm chuckling, and I'm thinking what his brothers and sister would have said about the fact when he got the Good Conduct Medal. They probably said, bullshit. You know, they said someone must have made a mistake and put that on there by mistake and just gave it to him because he had a Purple Heart. But you know, it's just the National Defense Service Medal and all the other medals that he received, and the Purple Heart for the extraordinary things he did. But what I really wanted to get into, and I usually can remember all this, I couldn't. Here's just some of the list of the things he's done, which was amazing. Veterans of foreign wars he belonged to, military of the Order of the Purple Heart, Disabled American Veterans, Tri-County Council of Veterans Heroes, American Legion, County of Albany Joint Veterans Committee, Albany County Honor Vet Committee, volunteer at the VA hospital, he was a huge advocate for the VA hospital, which he argued with the ambulance driver when he had the heart attack. They wanted to bring him to Albany Med or St. Peter's. He goes, I'm going to the VA. Because if we don't use it, it's not going to be there for other veterans, and I want to use the VA. You know, and then you look at the 40 at 8 Club, Fuller Road Fire Department, National Association of Uniformed Services, Retired Enlistment Associations, Hudson Park Nursing Home. Yes. And I could go on. And I do like to highlight someone's personal life and to his children, his legacy that he left behind, the stories. But I can assure you, looking around this room and having former county executives, former mayors here, the people from all over, the veterans that are here, are the stories they could share about your father, your grandfathers, their grandchildren, you know, to everyone, to the brothers and sisters, the extraordinary things he's done. And just this room says a testament of Henry's life and what he meant to us here, not just in Albany County, but to everybody. And we started a living veteran because I started to realize, I met people at this ceremony, and I'm like, how'd you know that person? And they go, I knew him, I didn't really know him. They helped me when I was in this bad situation. They gave me some good advice. And I go, hey, did you ever tell them the story? They go, no, why would I? You know? But again, these are great stories that people should hear. That how you do make a difference by leading by example. I always say this, don't idolize politicians, rock stars, pro anything. It's your neighbors, your extraordinary neighbors that make a difference in someone's life. Leading by example. You know, because I always say actions are louder than words. And that was Henry. Didn't say much, but he did a lot. He did a lot for the men and women here and everything he was involved in. It's a great honor to be a part of this and to really just highlight a little glimpse into Henry's life, a little glimpse of what he's done extraordinary. And to the family and to Mary, you have to be very proud of his legacy. But most importantly, if you don't have that foundation at home and you don't have that support at home, we couldn't share him. So I do want to say thank you for sharing him. Thank you for letting him do what he did. You were probably saving yourself, you know, a lot, but you gave us the pain. That's okay, Mary. We'll talk about that later. But to really, you know, I always say this, behind every great man and woman, there's a man or a woman behind that person, or a loved one, or a sister or brother that really gives them that extra push and support to get out into the community and to heal. And for a lot of the veterans, it's healing. For what they do, they go back and keep the memory of their comrades out there. So I do want to say again, thank you. It's an honor, and you know, it's good to be standing here with everyone to just talk a little glimpse of his life. But thank you again for sharing them with us. There's all the copies, because I know there's so many of you here.
Thank you.
Congressman Paul Tonka.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you for your work with the veterans. Most appreciated. It is an honor and pleasure to join with my colleagues in government and certainly with so many veterans here and active military, Gold Star Moms, a community of support for this nation that is powerful and revered around the world. And to join with Mike McNulty, thank you, Congressman McNulty, for initiating this tremendous salute to our veterans, a great tradition that is now carried through. Thank you for having joined with then County Exec Mike Hoblock. I see former County Exec Mike Breslin, too, had continued that tradition, and an honor to do this with Dan McCoy, our current County Exec. Only appropriate that we stop in the midst of our busy lives and say thank you and recognize people of greatness that have donned the uniform and defended this nation and all for which she stands. And this morning, it's great to be able to join with Mary Ann and Henry and Joel and Mary and siblings of Henry and Father Joe, you two. I know that you had a great relationship, you two. So this morning, we say thank you to Henry Rosenwegen. When you think about it, his spirit is just very present here this morning because he was so much a part of this ceremony. He was there in every dimension, providing taps, making certain he was part of that selection committee, being here at everyone greeting you, making certain that we did take our time to recognize our veterans and their courage and their bravery and their strength, their determination, and their undeniable patriotism, which are labels easily tossed upon Henry Rosenthal. He loved these ceremonies, you could tell. He was so enthusiastic about it and thought it was so appropriate that we would recognize those who served this country so valiantly. And so this morning we say thank you to an individual who served in 2 tours in Vietnam. Not an easy time for our nation's veterans and military at that time. The country did not give them the welcome home they deserved. And so it's always appropriate to all of our Vietnam-era veterans to say, welcome home, because it was long in coming. And that didn't stop him to show his love of country, to embrace his abilities, his skills, his dedication to this country, to defend her on the battlefield, and then to be wounded in 1968 in a way that then recognized him with a honorable discharge, and having earned a Purple Heart, several medals, and then also the Distinguished American Service Medal that he was awarded also. So much recognized for his acts of bravery. His love of country is undeniable. His involvement with so many posts and so many veterans organizations just spoke volumes about the support he wanted to offer his fellow veterans and their families, and his work as a volunteer firefighter. Dan mentioned his recognition as being inducted into the Veterans Hall of Fame, but then also being designated Firefighter of the Year by the Fuller Road Fire Department. Every dimension, every way he served, it was with great passion and great impact. And then he was recognized for that. An exemplary model, one who took the skills he learned perhaps in the military and then applied them with Local 7 as a plumber and pipe fitter. Of great service to the country everywhere he turned, every way he assumed his responsibilities. So this morning we recognize a person that lived it well beyond the ordinary, and one who gave well beyond his best. He was there for so many people in so many ways, and we miss him this morning because we can feel that spirit here. This was his place to show honor and respect to those who he knew gave their all for this country and for the world, so that we can be people living in peace. So this morning, a hearty thank you. We ask that from the halls of Congress that a flag be flown over our nation's capital in honor, in respect, in memory of a great person, Henry Rosenwegen Sr., who, again, deserves our honor, our respect. My hope, my prayer for him is that he is resting in peace and will do so for eternity. and job well done, good and humble servant. God bless you.
New York State Senator Neil Breslin.
To the entire family, I'm blessed to know you. I'm blessed to know your husband, your father, a very, very special person. But you have a very, very special family. You gave him to us. And when you talked about him being out every night, he wasn't out every night doing nothing. He was representing every part of our community. The plumbers, the fire, everything. And it's hard to accept, but I've never seen a family smile so much. And I've never seen a family really kind of express love and caring. And I think of I always think of, particularly with the Vietnam veterans, what I was doing home when your husband, your father, was spending critical years of his life representing our country. 66 to 69. And that's a special, special sacrifice for all of us here. Mostly all of the veterans here who did the same thing. So my praise and to your husband, I had, as you know, the chance to honor him in the New York State Senate as the Veteran of the Year. And I think it was not a mistake. It was well-deserved, well-earned, and just to have been allowed into the family for a couple hours, and then you told me to go home. It was a wonderful, wonderful time for me. So to the entire family, thank you for giving him to us and allowing him to do so many things for veterans here and for the rest of us. So I have another Senate proclamation for your husband. I don't have 110 duplicate copies like Dan, so it'd be easier for me to get down and present it to you. Thank you again.
New York State Assembly Member Pat Fahey.
Thank you, and good morning, and a special thanks to the county exec, as hard as that is sometimes, but a special thanks, as well as the congressman and Congressman McNulty and county exec Hoblock, as well as former county exec Mike Breslin, for initiating this, for continuing this, and these events are so special, and as you were, I think they're more special because it's a way to start off the month and in this moment of reflection, as well as I'm old enough to remember when we didn't honor and do enough to welcome back and as well as honor especially our Vietnam vets. And I think that's what makes this event even more special, and what a remarkable turnout here today because Henry was special, and there's been so much trauma, so much disruption. It is a loss. These will not be the same without him. And he was such a part of it and so intimately involved. So I'm deeply honored to be able to be here and join in this. And while I haven't met the family before, I can only imagine how special he was and how special each of you were. But that service before self, the fact that he was so involved, it is a constant theme throughout all the veterans that we have honored, that service before self, which is so embedded in each of them. So regardless of when they came home, regardless of what profession they ended up in, they always gave back. And what an extraordinary extraordinary legacy that Henry has left, that others have left. And I can only imagine the sacrifices that meant on his family, because he was out so many nights. But it touched the hearts of so many. And I often wish if we could only embed that throughout society these days, not just in our military personnel. It is important that we do put service before self, and that we each remember that, especially in these troubled times. So it's wonderful to see the turnout. I am honored, and it's a true legacy of his work. I should add, I too have a small token of appreciation, and these are just tokens to commemorate that service for the family. I'm usually joined here by John McDonald, but he had a conflict here today. I know he also has a commemoration. But again, these are the smallest of tokens. He will be missed. These monthly Honor a Vet ceremonies just won't be the same, especially when he played taps. It made it so special. We will remember him at each one in the future. Thank you, everybody.
Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan.
Thank you and good morning. I hope you don't mind the mask, but even COVID was not going to keep me away from today. I will say, and I know that my predecessor, Jerry Jennings, had the privilege of knowing Henry for a very long time, you know, even before he became mayor, but he is somebody that I was introduced to after becoming mayor. And by introduced, I mean educated in all things that a mayor needs to know in the city of Albany if we are going to host a Veterans Day parade, a Memorial Day parade, or anything that honors our vets. And he was always so open and so kind and so welcoming. And I am very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the amazing work that particularly the Tri-County Vietnam-era veterans have done and continue to do in the city of Albany. And Henry was such an important part of that. But whether it was the Vietnam Memorial, whether it was the Gold Star Memorial that was then built, whether it was making sure that we were properly and doing all that we could to properly honor our vets, the flags, everything that is just such an important part of not just this community, but our entire community, the entire capital region. It's not just the city of Albany, it's all of us. And that was in his spirit, that was who he was, that was how he lived, and he went out and did. It wasn't about talking about these things, it was about showing through service, through the commitment of his time and his talent, that he led and set an example for all of us. And I know that normally we are joined by cadets from whether it's the Henry Johnson Battalion or LaSalle or CBA, but I know that every time we see them march in the parade, we are seeing a future that he has helped to make possible. That tradition, that insistence that we honor our veterans, that we remember our veterans, is part of his legacy. And that legacy is living on through what we are seeing throughout our community. So I am very grateful, again, for you giving us of his time and all that he has done for our community, the support that you provided. It is a loss. It is a tremendous loss. And I am hopeful because he left a legacy. Through his example, young people today are continuing to give service. And that's because of his commitment. And so I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for allowing us to honor him here today. And I have a proclamation as well. probably would have laughed if I had told him I was going to do this, but I am privileged and honored to declare today, September 6, 2022, Henry Rosenzweig Senior Day in the city of Albany. He's not able to get in any trouble with this, but I think up there he's probably laughing a little bit.
Colony Town Supervisor Peter Crummey could not be here today. However, he did send along a proclamation for the family. Waterville Arsenal Commander, Colonel Alan Fisher.
First of all, Mary Ann, it is an honor and privilege to share this moment with you and your entire family. And as we heard before, less than 1% serve, less than half of 1% let their family members serve. So thank you, and thank you, Joe. To all the veterans and everyone else here, it is an honor just to be in a hall with heroes. Ones that served, ones that gave a little piece of themselves, and ones that answered our nation call. It's not lost upon me when I hear about Henry's service from 66 to 69. And it's not lost upon me where our nation stands 21 years ago today. So before Henry turned 29, he was already serving his nation. And as we think about Henry, and I've just heard a few comments here as a transplant from Richmond, Virginia, enjoying the cold weather up here. Sir, thank you. You know, I think about the Army values of leadership, right? So you heard about Henry's loyalty to his country, his fellow man, his citizens, his family. You heard about duty, not only duty to country, but duty to his local community and the next generation that stands to walk in his shoes. You hear about respect, be able to treat everyone else with the dignity and respect that they deserve, so they can go out and smile, and the next day, you'd even maybe tell the mayor on how to run a city. You think about selfless service, the service that he went into serve his nation abroad. You think about honor, the way to walk in the footsteps and make sure that those who follow have the right path to go on for their journey. Integrity. Impeccable integrity as far as giving directions to the ambulance, but also raising a family. And I see Mary Ann on to your left, just the generation of legacy that he's going to leave behind, so they know what his audio matched the video. And lastly, personal courage. The personal courage to do what's right, the personal courage to stand in the face of adversity, and the personal courage for allowing individuals like myself to don this uniform. So again, I want to say thank you from the men and women of the Arsenal for sharing Henry and being his lovely bride for 40 plus years as it continue. Thank you so much.
Before I hand the mic over to Joel, I'm going to tell a little story about Henry. I've been in this job for about 5 years now. And when I first took the job, they were like, listen, you got to meet this guy Henry. And I was like, oh boy, all right. Must be really important. So it was shortly thereafter I got an email from him saying, hey, come to the Joint Vets Committee. So I went to the Joint Vets Committee, and sure enough, he's in charge of it. So I was like, yep. They were right. This is the guy I need to talk to. What I noticed during the meeting, though, was there was one guy in the audience. He just kept ribbing left and right and left and right. Now, I know he wanted to have fun, but I was like, man, is he taking this a little too far? So after the meeting, I was like, does Henry not like that guy? He's like, no, that's his brother, Mark. And, you know, that's the way Henry was. Henry, you always knew what kind of a meeting you were going into. If Henry was there, you knew you were going to have fun, but you were going to get things done. So, Without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Joel Rosenzweig for a few remarks.
I want to thank everybody for coming here. I just want to point out, though, that I am not the best speaker in my family. I just happen to be the one that followed him into the plumbers, into the military. And I can tell you that probably with me and my brother and my sister, some of our fondest memories were things around the military. I mean, we were always up at the Waterville Elite Arsenal in the Body Forge. We were always going to the Scotia Depot, running around. Everything he did was about helping the next man up. We just happened to be the ones lucky enough to be raised by him. I tried to prepare something, but as you can see, everybody else would have took all my material. So, I just would like to thank everybody for coming and honoring my father today. And that's all I really have.
Thank you, Joel. Would everyone please rise for the playing of taps in honor of Henry Rosenzweig Sr. Normally, we would continue outside to finish the ceremony by raising the flag above the American Legion post. Unfortunately, due to the weather, we're gonna skip that portion of the ceremony, but we will raise the flag later on, and it will stay above the American Legion and the City of Albany in honor of Henry for the entire month of September. That concludes this portion of the ceremony. We will take a few pictures with the family and dignitaries up here, and then everybody can help themselves to some coffee and breakfast. The next Honor of Vet ceremony will be Monday, October 3rd, right here at the American Legion Zaloga Post to honor Konstantin Koutsakis, who served in the U.S. Navy. Thank you for attending, and that concludes our ceremony for today.
Thank you very much. Lane, I can't see you. Okay. All right, I'm going to ask, you can get just a tad tight is perfect. All right, so I'm going to ask you to look here for a series of pictures, and then I'm going to ask you to stay because I'm going to move out of the way. All right, ready? Okay, stay right there. Anyone else who needs to step in? Thank you.
How about a fuzzy wuzzy?